authorities, and they were trying to get more money, and it just got really messy really quick.
Yeah.
And I had, like I said, no education. I love nonprofits, but they can also go wrong when you don't know what you're doing and you're not equipped to do like international work, or you don't know anything about the policies of the, a lot that I did great, and there's a lot that I learned.
Yeah.
So looking back, there would be a lot that I do different. So that shook me. Like, that was really scary. And then when I came back, the headmaster was like trying to get me to send money, and it just became really clear to me that like I actually couldn't trust him, and I had to not send any more money. And
Gotcha.
And that was like devastating. I mean, like, devastating for me. And thank God, like, everything we did is like there, wasn't, I never sent money. And I think that was it. So everything's installed, everything's there. But back in America, and that's when I actually started doing pills. So I get back, and I'm super depressed, like beyond depressed, because I didn't know. Like, looking back, there was ways to fix it, but I was so distraught at that moment. So I started like doing Adderall in school, and I started to I tried to go back to school. I dropped out. But Adderall is really like what started me with the pill thing, because all of the girls were like, "Oh, here, take Adderall."
Well, I was just going to ask. So all of the girls, the people you surrounded yourself with that were taking them, they were saying, "Hey, it's for a study, help you focus." And then all of a sudden, you start taking them every single day.
It's for studying. So I was like, good, because I keep dropping out of school. So
this is it. This is my savior. I'm going to start taking Adderall, and everything's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm going to finish school and like pull it together and be normal.
Okay, so you went from Adderall to what was next?
So Adderall to Klonopin, and then I really realized that I liked uppers and downers together. So that's what happened. Was like, ooh, I like the feeling of uppers and downers. And so I was still like advocating for profit work in Africa. I was involved in another nonprofit in Sudan. I wasn't going there, but I was helping.
Right.
But I started, so the addict in me, like, because I wasn't drinking a lot when I was doing my stuff in Africa, and I had my purpose, so I was fine.
Yeah.
But I started, that's when my partying started to get really bad.
So was this when you came back was this in Santa Fe?
Nope, this was all in California.
This is all in California.
Santa Fe, yep.
Okay, so you're going back to school, you're taking uppers and downers, and this started becoming a daily habit.
Oh, yeah, started to become a daily habit. And I mean, I was supposed to do this huge presentation at the University of Santa Barbara on African nonprofit work, and instead I had done like so much pills that like somebody thought I was ODing, which I wasn't. I was just tired, but they like took me to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And so like I'm sitting there in the hospital instead of doing this like nonprofit work in Africa and giving this speech, and so I just knew I was like getting out of control. Like I drove my car into a fire hydrant.
On purpose?
No. Like I was wasted, and I had this like little sports car, an Infiniti G35, and I woke up this morning and I just didn't even realize that the fire hydrant was just like going, and I had drove it into the fire hydrant.
So was that a combination of the uppers, downers, and drinking, or were you just taking pills?
Klonopin and Xanax, and like the uppers, you don't really, when you drink with Xanax, you kind of forget things.
So you literally were driving, you hit a fire hydrant, but you were passed out, and you just woke up to this scene? You don't remember?
I woke up like an hour fire hydrant. Yeah, I woke up, so then I had to get a rental car.
What, did you get arrested?
No. It's weird.
You just walked away? That's crazy. It was a big
bill. It was no.
Well, obviously.
It was expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But money. And so then I like had a rental car, and I crashed that. Like I don't remember a lot of it because there was a lot of the Klonopin and Xanax. And this is in a short period of time. Like I go hard and quick.
Behind the scenes, though, I mean, you still got the depression. I mean, are you just drowning your sorrows with the pills? And
I mean, that's what it is.
Did you ever ask for help? Did your mom know? Did you have a conversation with her?
Nobody knew. No, so nobody knew until...
Were you just like, fuck it, I don't care. This is the way I'm going to live.
it's the fuck it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. I had this like, I have like been doing so much, and I honestly, I think being at Santa Barbara, like, it's like one of the biggest party schools. I think I like always felt like envious because I never had any I've never had a normal life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I like looked at people who just like get out of high school and they go into their sororities and they party, and I never had that. I was like traveling all over the world.
You're
a
gypsy.
Yeah,
you're
I'm a
a
gypsy.
wanderlust, man. Yeah. You're a fierce, free spirit.
I'm a gypsy. So I just kind of like wanted to just be like a 20-year-old. Like that's what I was thinking. So I was looking at all these people partying, and like DP in Santa Barbara is crazy. So in my mind, it wasn't. I was just like wild, and I was being wild. You know, I didn't really. Looking back, the depression got really bad. But then, so what ended up happening was this is all like I go hard and quick.
Yeah, okay? Sounds like
my addictive nature is like wham bam. Like it's not a long progression. Like when I start, it's on.
Yeah.
And so so this is in a couple months. And then what ended up happening was I got a phone call from Mac from prison. And he had just gone out of solitary confinement. So I had not talked to him except for some prison letters. And he's like, I'm getting out in 2 weeks. I love you. I still think of you as like my fiance. Come back, come get me, and let's work it out. And so in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go get you from prison. I'm going to go pick you up. I'm going to pack my car up, and I'm going back to New Mexico, and I'm going to pick you up. And
so in your mind, he's kind of like your first love. You still got that connection with him. He's a bad boy. You had that guilt for, you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I always thought it was my fault he went to prison.
So now you're a people pleaser, and you have to go pick him up and take care of him.
Yep, exactly.
Sarah.
And my project in Africa had ended, so like I needed, you know what I'm saying? Like
project,
I needed purpose. Like I'm so purpose driven, which is it's a huge strength now that I'm super sane and sober, but it wasn't back then when I was so young.
So you go and you pick up Max, and this is where I'm assuming the heroin starts.
Yep. So I go and I pick up Max. Oh God, see, you're gonna have fun editing this. Sorry, I'm gonna like hurry it up, but. Okay, so I go.
Oh, there's no editing in this. This is raw and real. We're
people, you've got a lot. I'm sorry. It's like I do have like this like crazy different story. So I've done podcasts before.
Yeah.
So I was like, longest podcast ever.
All good. Talk to me, Max. We're here.
Okay, prison. I go. I pick him up. Now remember, I had shaved my head, so my hair.
Yeah.
Like from Spain, I was still short. I was like very hippie. I was so hippie. I go. I see him. He's covered in prison tattoos from his neck to his fingers. He's got this scar from his to his pubic bone.
All right, now we're talking bad boy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not like so 2 worlds apart though is what we're also talking because we had both changed a lot.
100%.
We've just changed a lot.
Yeah.
You changed, and I just remember thinking like, oh fuck, like I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And so it was just on.
Yeah.
It was on. Like from that moment, like I had already started doing pills, and so basically he started doing. We moved in. I moved in with him, back on his ankle bracelet. My mom freaked out. Okay, I just have to say, like my mom knew. She didn't even know I came back to Santa Fe because I did not want to tell her because she always hated him. Like she knew, and like the day I picked him up from prison, she called me frantically, and I kept like declining her calls, and she said, where are you? I feel like you're dead. Like I feel death around you. Side note, I come from like a really spiritual family, and that's like a whole but we're talking like serious.
Yeah.
Very, very spiritual.
Gotcha.
And so my mom's always been really in tune, and so she's like, I feel death around you. Call me now. You're not okay.
Wow.
And she just knew.
That's crazy intuition. Yeah.
Yep. And so. Then I had to like go. I went to her house, so we had a huge blowout. I'm an adult. I'm gonna do what I want to do. So I moved in with him and his dad and stepmom, and he was back on the ankle bracelet. It was like just went right back. It was like a time loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're right back there.
It was like all this crazy stuff and this like amazing life just had never existed. I was back in Santa Fe, living at his parents' house with him on his ankle bracelet, and he had started to do right away. I mean, he had changed. Talk about. I mean, it was horrible. Like, I can't imagine being in solitary confinement. You know, for anybody. You know, and I have so many friends now who've been in prison, but that's another side story. But so he started doing Suboxone, which people are going to talk a lot about Suboxone for like heroin and drug treatment. But like when you don't have an opiate tolerance and you take Suboxone, you get really high because it's actually like more powerful than morphine.
Okay.
Yeah. Suboxone's an opiate. So it's 4 opiate, 1 part naloxone, which is a heroin blocker. So you can't technically like shoot Suboxone or take Suboxone and heroin at the same time because it makes you sick, but it is still an opiate.
Okay. So then he was taking that, and then did you start taking that with him?
Yeah. So I started taking that with him.
Okay.
And so he was taking that because it doesn't show up on drug tests unless you specifically test for that. So he was on parole. So then we taking that. And then it was so quick. Then from that, he started to deal pills again. And then he started to deal cocaine. And then I started to take pills. So I went from Suboxone to like, I had never really done opiates before. Like at Klonopin, I was like designer drugs in Santa Barbara. So then I started taking like Percocets, Hydros, and I just started taking them. I mean, it just was that quick. It was just like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, let's do it. You know, and I think it was also like a way to bond. Like we were so disconnected.
That's the only way you felt connected.
Yeah, it was the only way I felt connected. And already depressed, you know, and I had already started to do that. So I just started taking a ton of pills. Like I would take like 20 Hydros a day and not even think anything of it. And so then what started to happen is I started to find him shooting heroin. And at first it really wigged me out. I was like, this is crazy. I need to leave. Like this is a wake-up call. And then I didn't. And then what started to happen is we had our own place and like all of our friends started to be on heroin. And so I started to just adapt to my environment. And everybody in our house is on heroin. He's drugs. He's using a lot of my money to pick up drugs. We're just like, he's right back there. And like human beings, we crave connection and love.
100%.
And we adapt. I mean, we adapt. And so, yeah, I was basically living on like a heroin den, you know, I mean, we were the spot. And so one night, what ended up happening was my friend Cole and him came back and they were like super spun out. And I was pissed. And I was like, you know, and I had been drinking and I was taking pills and I was like, I just don't. And I was always pissed that he was shooting drugs. Like, and I just think that I couldn't stop. You know, even though I'm like, there's so much denial with addiction. Like, it's the denial that comes when you're in addiction is crazy. Because if somebody's worse than you, then you're like focused on their addiction and you're not looking at your own addiction. And so he came home and I was like, I want to shoot. I want to try heroin. I want to do it. Like, I don't get it. I want to see what's so good about it. And so he and my friend Cole, they shot me up with heroin that night. And I'll never, was the craziest, like, then the adrenaline of, like, getting shot up was real. It was crazy. And so the first experience with heroin was, like, this crazy rush, and then I just got really sick. Like, I just puked my guts out.
That night, right after you tried it?
Yeah. I just threw up all night.
Yeah.
Like, so I was kind of like, I don't really know why people like this that much. And so the next day I was really wigged out. I was like really concerned that I had just like been shot up and had used a needle. And then like a couple of days, and I was actually debating on leaving. I was like, you know, this is like, it was one of those moments. Like I feel like we get moments in life where we have like at a crossroads and we can go right or we can go left.
Yep.
So I then decided to stay. And what happened was like a week later, they came back and they were doing speedballs, which is cocaine and heroin, and you shoot it together.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I know you like heroin, you got really sick. He's like, just try this. Like, I think you might like this better. Like, it's a